With Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. And I will call us into closed session as authorized by Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Section 551.001, concerning purposes permitted by the Act, including 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.072, deliberation regarding real property, 551.074, deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignments, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an employee. And with that, I will call us into closed session at 6:02. I'll call us back into open session at 6:45 p.m., where we will move to the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. Genevieve Redinger from Seabrook Intermediate is going to lead us in the pledges, and I'll meet you down front in front of the dais.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
Please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. And we are thrilled to have Gigi lead the pledge because she's a student at Seabrook Intermediate, and she is this month's Hero in the Hallway. And as you may recall, her mother spoke at the March school board meeting about her daughter's efforts to recognize CCISD teachers while raising support for a cause that is near and dear to her and to many others. So check out this video about this month's Hero in the Hallway.
You've been nominated for a Kendra Scott Piece of Jewelry. Every week I like to talk about CPR, stroke symptom awareness, eating healthy, stuff like that. My mom has had 7 heart surgeries ever since I was in kindergarten. In October, she had open heart surgery. It shows that I can show everybody my story, so if somebody has a similar story, they can also know they're not alone and they can step up. I thought we were only going to get 20% of all the sales, but they gave back the necklace that, so like if you bought a necklace, the teacher would also get a necklace, or anybody that you nominated. So we didn't know that until we saw a big box on the front door of 80 pieces of jewelry. So we thought only 10 teachers were going to get nominated. I get to give back to the community that's helped me a lot through my life. So giving back will at least leave an impact in some people's lives. You can do anything, pretty much. Like, even if you had an obstacle in your life, you can still jump over it. Like, we can find a way to get over it.
So Gigi, we are thrilled to present this medal to you. I also want to share with folks that more than $241,000 has been raised for the American Heart Association by Gigi and 24 other teens across 6 states. That's truly impressive. So in addition to presenting the medal to you, I want to invite your mother and also your principal from Seabrook Intermediate, Nicole Hicks, to come forward for a photograph. So. This evening, we are also excited to recognize our Scholastic Art Contest Gold Key winners. And the following students really had their success with the support of their art teachers. And they were chosen from over 320,000 applicants. And please join me in recognizing our Scholastic Art Contest Gold Key winners. And I'd like to read the approximately dozen names of all the honorees, although they all can't be here. But when your name is called out, if you can wave to folks and let them know you're here. So Jasmine Ali from Seabrook Intermediate, Kylie Broussard, Clear Creek Intermediate, Lauren Clements, League City Intermediate, Carolina Colon, Clear Lake High School, Tatiana Del Pilar, Clear Falls High School, Joanne Giogi, Clear Brook High School, Anastasia Gonzalez, Clear Creek High School, Minzy Gray, Clear Springs High School, and Minzy also earned her silver medal at the national level. Eliza Hoffman, Clear Springs High School, Alicia Howe, Clear Lake High School, Ajna Maknigiha, League City Intermediate, Emma Moore, Clear Springs High School, and Kennedy Pugh, Clear Springs High School. Congratulations. And if their art teachers can come forward as well, please, for the photograph, because we appreciate your support of our stars. I see we've got principals joining us here as well, so thank you all for supporting our artists. Next, we are recognizing Clear Creek High School Hunch finalists. So the Clear Creek High School Architectural, Civil Engineering, and Engineering Design and Development classes competed nationally in the NASA Hunch Design Prototype Competition. So Hunch stands for High Schools United with NASA to create hardware. They competed against 277 schools with over 2,000 projects. So our students received 6 national finalist awards out of 30 awards given. So again, 20% of the awards with 277 schools competing. The national finalist team projects will be reviewed for future NASA flights. And so I'd like to read the names of our honorees: Aiden Allen, Jorge Tijerina, Kennedy Pelico, Ethan McLeod, Brian Lamb, Derry Lynn, Tin Mai, Ashton East, Muhammad Wadiwala, Veronica Sanders, Shabrian Gaines, and Trevor Gidney. Please join me in expressing appreciation for their accomplishment. And I appreciate Mr. Merritt and Mr. Majewski joining us in support of these impressive young people. Fantastic, y'all. So each year, the Association of School Business Officials International has awarded Clear Creek Independent School District its Meritorious Budget Award, and it's been this is the 16th year in a row, a consecutive year that I guess that's what in a row means. CCISD has earned this prestigious award, and the award goes to districts for creating budgets that successfully really speak to the community and at their core are easy to read, accurate, detailed, and really reflect in a clear way district goals and objectives, and therefore building credibility and trust within the community. I'd like to ask the following CCISD employees from Finance Department to come forward to receive a token of appreciation. Alice Benzai, Paige Fahey, Jenna Brown, and Paul McClarty. Thank you. And with Paul McClarty being one of the honorees, and I know I'll address this more next month at the May board meeting, but we appreciate your whole team's contribution to this, and I just want to say we know you will certainly be sorely missed, as we're excited for you that you're going on to be city manager for our city in Nassau Bay, but you will be sorely missed here. So thank you for your service, and again, I'll have more words next month, but well done. Thank you.
And it's always a good day when we're able to recognize the accomplishments of our students. Next, we'll have our program spotlight, and we welcome our friends with the Education Foundation.
This evening for our annual spotlight. We have great news to share with you, and so I'm just going to jump right in. First of all, as you know, the foundation collaborates very closely with the school district to bring further innovation into the classroom for our students and teachers. We've had a very successful year doing that this year, and this evening with us, I'd like to introduce some of the directors that serve on our board. They're leaders in our community who are actively engaged and bringing passion for education to all the work that we do. So I'll start on our left. Okay, so I'll start on our left. Melinda Mintz is our vice chairman this year. You can stand, that'd be great. Carl Joyner is our past chairman from 2021. Seated to his left seated to his right is his lovely wife, Colleen. Colin Rickard is a new director that started on the board in January. We're happy to have him on board. Marianne Schauberg has been on our board for quite a few years now. She's reminding us. We'll have to make sure she wants to come back, right? We have Kelly Bird, who is this year's chairman of the board. And our chairman for next year is Greg Ploss. So thank you all for being here. So we have 19 returning directors that are serving on the board this year. We also have, as you know, ex officio directors. Dr. Williams is an ex officio. Thank you for your time. Dr. Bayard serves in an ex officio capacity. We also have Mr. Cunningham and Mr. Sanchez, who are listed as ex officio directors on our board. And I have to also say thank you to Mr. Larson for the work he's been coming out and learning all about the work that we do on the foundation. So thank you all for your time that you share with us on the Education Foundation board. We have 7 new directors that joined the board in January. They have jumped in full force. We're very excited about them. One of them you already met, Colin, is with us. He's probably the youngest director that's come on the board of directors. I have to always call that out. But he's doing a great job. He's our representative from Moody Bank. So thank you again, Colin. So we also, as I introduce some of our officers, I'll just run through them again. As I said, Kelly is our chairman of the board, Kelly Bird. Our past chairman from last year is Carl Joyner. Greg Ploss is our chairman-elect. Melinda is our vice chairman this year. Scott Howard is our treasurer, and Jenny McCorkle is our secretary. So everybody's been working very hard, and now I'm going to take you through some of the great success that we've achieved. Let's talk about grants, because this is what we are truly here to do, is bring innovation into the classroom beyond all the great work that the school district does. You can see I've given you a comparison here of what we were able to do in 2021. As you know, it was a very tough, challenging year. There are a couple of programs we were not able to do because of all the extra work that our teachers were doing through COVID. But I'm happy to say for the 2021-2022 school year, we were able to fund all of our programs beyond what we did in 2021, and I also want to mention these are also levels beyond 2019 and 2020. So you can see that we're funding some great programs there, whether it's teacher innovative grants. You can see the student impact, our mini grants are just about double what we did last year. Special innovative grants, this is truly exciting because there were 3 wonderful programs that we funded. Started with the anatomage dissecting table at Clear Springs High School, which I'm told is now in. It was a $48,000 dissecting table that all of the students who are doing anything to do with biology and medical field will be using that table. So you will be invited very soon to a great showcase where those students will demo that new table. You talk about innovation, that's going to be super cool. You also probably know that we have that new PAES lab for our elementary students that helps our elementary students to start guide them in things that they can do to start thinking about careers and their futures. So we are very excited to be a part and fund that grant for our elementary students. And I also want to call out the $11,000 that we did in student grants. Science fair in particular, we had 6 of the 10 science fair students that we funded with their programs go on to, they placed at district. 2 of them were grand award winners. 4 of them went on to Houston, and 1 placed at the Texas Science Fair. So we're very proud of the work that they're doing, and we feel like our dollars are definitely well spent in the district. Moving on to other programs that we fund for the district. You'll see Clear Horizons Early College is a little bit more than we normally fund. We have a new partner. McDaniel Foundation has stepped up to start helping us support that program. So we are excited to receive $10,000 from them, a new partner for us, and hopefully somebody that will continue to work with us to provide the tuition and needs for our students at Clear Horizons. You can see National Board Teacher Certifications on the rise again. We're excited to see that teachers are reaching out for their certification and that the foundation is reimbursing them as long as they stay employed as a teacher in our district. Leader in Me, we continue to fund. We're in our last year of the commitments from most of our original partners for the Leader in Me. So this fall will be those final payments for that 5-year pledge or 3-year pledges that came in originally on the Leader in Me. And I'll touch base in just a minute a little bit further on the total funding from that. Also, robotics, coding, and computational thinking immersion was new for us in 21-22. The foundation, Dr. Williams brought the program to us, and we initially funded $73,000 from the foundation plus another $10,000 from the Space Center Rotary Club to kick off the immersion. And in a minute, I'll tell you more about how much progress we've made in getting that funded for the pre-launch. Total program support there, once again, you can see we're more than double on our innovative grants in the classroom. Our other programs are way up, and our total program support you can see at the $580,679 for 21-22 is much more than 2021 and also much more than 2019-2020. So all in all, a tremendous year on the impact that we're having on our students and our teachers in the classroom. And I also want to bring your attention to the 5-year plan that the foundation has. Ends actually in 2022. One of the goals was that we would bring $5 million to the district by the end of that 5-year plan. We're sitting at $4.7 million has been gifted in total in programs. So we are very confident that we're going to reach that particular goal as well as many of the others in our strategic plan. The Leader in Me, this is just a reminder to show you over $750,000 was raised by the foundation to support the Leader in Me. I also want to make sure that you guys recognize all of the generous partners that came through to support the Leader in Me. That program has been such a success in our classroom, and our partners will all agree that the impact that it's having in our kids is truly just something beyond their basic education. So lots of great things happening with the Leader in Me, and we're very grateful to our partners that help us support that. Robotics, coding, and computational thinking immersion. This is just a recap of the $73,000 that the foundation initially provided back in August to kick off the pre-launch. The program was asking for $221,000 in total funding by this May, and the foundation then committed to raise the additional $148,000 to do that. We are definitely very close to it. You can see the partners that have come through for funding on the robotics, coding, and computational thinking. We have totally raised $210,500, so we're looking for another $11,000 that we feel confident we'll be able to raise by the end of May as well. So all is going well with that. I tell you that the videos and the pictures and inviting our partners out and potential partners out to see our kids in action with that RCC is making a huge difference in the engagement that our partners want to have in the classroom. They truly see that it's beneficial, that it's taking education to a much higher level, and they're jumping in on it, as you can see. So, fundraising, we did have truly our first $1 million year of fundraising. So kudos to the board of directors. They worked very, very hard to do that. You can see the breakdown from annual campaign to events, restricted funds, other, and then we did have 2 PPP loans that we worked very hard to get and get forgiven to help us with our expenses and so forth for our programs. So great year, terrific year. We're very proud of it, and everybody worked very hard together to make that happen. So I'm getting close to the end. I feel like I'm talking very quickly, but I want to make sure I cover all this. We have a lot of events scheduled for this year. We are hitting the ground running. As you guys know, our community challenge is this Saturday, April 30th. This is an event that we are looking to really get more awareness with our families and our parents in our community. So we will be featuring student performances, art expo. We are asking our cities, that we have 7 teams from our local cities to do an obstacle course with firefighter games to make it fun. We have teachers and staff playing in a kickball tournament, again, to have some good times, celebrate the success of our students and teachers. We'll have touch a truck out there where students can come out and touch a truck, whether it be canine, dog, the SWAT trucks, the fire engines. So there'll be lots of activities this weekend. I hope you'll join us and come out. It'll be a fun time to celebrate as well as to bring our community together and more awareness to the foundation and our work. We have Surprise Patrol. Please mark your calendars for May 17th and 19th. We're excited because we'll have nearly $130,000 to award in teacher grants on that day and a half. You will see a schedule come out probably next week after we get through this event this week, and so you can hopefully join us at some of those schools when we award those grants. Alumni and Friends Top Golf Tournament. This is always a big success, and last year it was bigger than ever. We sold out on everything. We are hosting that event again on June 30th. Of course, Dine Out to Donate we'll do in the fall, annual awards dinner, and then a couple of other things that I want to mention that's going on this year. This is our 30-year anniversary. I don't know if you know, but we were founded in 1992, so lo and behold, this is our 30-year anniversary. We do have a commemoration campaign running. The first 30 partners who give $3,000, which will raise $90,000 for the foundation, will be noted on wonderful plaques that we'll be putting in the front foyer of the high schools. And we're getting very close to bringing in all those 30 partners so that we could put those plaques up before the end of the year. We also have a new alumni campaign, and this is another awareness campaign to our alum of the foundation's work. So the campaign is 1,000 alum giving $100 each, which will raise $100,000 for the foundation, and also, again, for all of our teacher and innovative grant programs within the classroom. So we're excited about reaching out to our alum and our families and our parents and our community to bring further awareness of all the great things that we do. We are also developing our new strategic plan this year, working very closely with Dr. Williams and Dr. Bayer to align it with the goals of the school district and make sure that we're all working in the same direction together. And beyond that, I think that is the end of my presentation. I'd like to say thank you again, and thank you to our board of directors who work so hard to support all the work that we do. But it all works because we have a great team of collaboration, and we are all working together, and I feel very blessed to be working with each and every one of you every day. So thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Lane, I just wanted to thank you. I also wanted to thank the directors that came out in support of. I don't think any trustees have any questions or anything like that, but Dr. DuPont?
Well, I don't have a question, but I do have a comment, and I just wanted to say, earlier today, I went back to last year when you gave the update, and at that time, it was if you all hadn't really skipped a beat anyway, even though COVID was happening, and that did hamper some of your efforts and things that you were doing. But now, with seeing this year, I mean, everybody just went right into things. And as I sat here watching looking over at that side of the room, I think a huge part of it is just the level that all of you stay involved with the district and are in the schools, because I know at any of the events that the foundation supports, you all are there. I see your faces there. I see you looking at what your efforts are doing within the schools. And that certainly plays into the success that you've had and everything that's happening. And I will always go back to, you talked at the end about the aligned strategic plan, and in my time on the board, and as I've seen other foundations throughout the state too, I think that is an incredible strength of the foundation in working with the district, and in the grant. You see it every year in the grants that are funded, and it's the things that are the latest things that are happening in the classroom and need to be happening in the classroom, and it keeps those students on the edge in terms of what's happening and innovative programs, and I think that's absolutely incredible. So thank you so much for all of the work every year that happens, and I know it'll continue way into the future.
And I just wanted to thank you. I remember years ago, a couple years back, when we got you from Texas City, and just some of the partnerships you brought on board with the Moody Foundation, and strengthening those relationships with our community partners. So thank you for what you do, and thank the foundation for all the time and efforts that you all put into supporting our students. So thank you.
Mr. President, I also want to express gratitude on behalf of the district. Just truly impressive work, whether you're looking at the substance of the grants and what's being funded, or looking at it by the numbers. So in terms of the substance, looking at the recent teacher innovative grants, they're just so right on target in terms of supporting historical simulations in high school history classes, grants to support inquiry-based science, grants for our youngest learners as it relates to supporting phonics and phonological awareness, part of reading comprehension. So thank you for driving excellence and innovation. And that's in terms of the substance. In terms of the numbers, wow, both in terms of the amount of dollars given away and crossing that $1 million threshold is a milestone to be quite proud of. So we're deeply grateful for all the work that you do in support of our students. Thank you.
All right, and we will move to community input. The purpose of community input is for the entire board to receive feedback from citizens. The board will hear the public comments but will not respond except as authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act to respond to an inquiry by a member of the public or by a board member with a statement of specific factual information, a recitation of existing policy, or to deliberate a proposal to place a subject on the agenda for a subsequent meeting. Matters brought forth that require a response will be addressed by the superintendent as appropriate. All information received is subject to verification. Community input is scheduled for 30 minutes and has 2 forms. Those requesting to address the board in advance of the meeting are granted 3 minutes to address their topics, and those who sign up this evening prior to 6:30 are granted 1 minute. In a district our size, there will certainly be issues or topics which will understandably generate considerable interest from the public. It is important that members of our community be able to address the school board respectfully, without disruption, and without fear of intimidation from other attendees. On behalf of the board, the superintendent, and CCISD staff, we welcome your input during CCISD school board meetings. We request that everyone exhibit the respect and understanding each person rightfully deserves when addressing the school board during the public input portion of the meeting. And we have 7 3-minute speakers and 2 1-minute speakers. We will start with Ms. Paige Rander, followed by Mr. John Koberovius.
There's a writing talk about cheap tissues in our groups. Mr. President, Dr. Williams, team of 8. It's probably pretty close to impossible to boil down into 3 minutes an experience of 9 years that Dr. DuPont has joined with our team in helping to make things happen in Clear Creek ISD. She came to us in 2013, probably a little earlier than that, as a PTA mom, highly interested in the wave split. We had a lot of good conversations, but she came with passion, and that's what she brought to the board when she won her election in 2013. And then it was also the first, we had one of our first bonds, one of many bonds, but one of the first, my first, and Dr. DuPont's first in 2013. And over the years, we saw great projects being completed by those in the district, expanding, building schools, rebuilding schools, building the stadium. She learned quickly. She brought passion to us, and we learned quickly from her the word process. For those of you who don't know, Dr. DuPont is a process engineer, and that was something that she always focused on when looking at everything that came across our desk in the days. In 2014, she was part of our group. That was an honor board. We were very much a high-performing, functioning board that got a lot done, and we were recognized as one of the top 5 districts in the state. And along that, with that came a couple of other honors as an honor board, including with the HEB Awards of Excellence, Education Awards of Excellence. In 2016, she was unopposed. And in 2017, we had another bond. In between all of that, she was president, then I was president, then she was president again. We bookended each other. She served as my vice president, and there were so many different things that we had that challenged us, including Harvey, with our families, in the community, and our staff. And we got through that together as a board and as a community. In 2018, Dr. DuPont finished the leadership TASB class and became a master trustee, an honor that I share with her along with Ms. Hammond and several other trustees and former trustees in Clear Creek ISD. It's an intensive program, much like many other leadership programs, and we learned a lot in that. Then there was COVID and superintendent search and so many other things that, like I said, it would be hard to get into 3 minutes. But I, along with I know a lot of other people in this district, are so very thankful to you for everything that you've done for our students and with us. Thank you, Dr. DuPont.
Thank you, Ms. Rander. And John Koberovius. Is he here? Seeing him not here, I'll move on to Miss Christine Parizo, followed by Sean Byers.
Good evening. Let me remind those of you on the dais and watching at home that the Board of Trustees are elected to represent the students, families, and taxpayers of CCISD, to take decisive action to solve glaring problems in our school district. The community asked for policy that eliminates the authority of a single person to close schools for so-called public health reasons. In such a scenario, we want our direct representatives, the board, to vote. The community also asked for policy to fix existing gaps regarding staff training, to ensure staff would not receive training that goes against state law, district policy, and our community values. But when both of those policies were voted on during the March 28th meeting, 4 of you figuratively spat in our faces. 4 of you chose not to accept responsibility and accountability. 4 of you believe you know better than the voters. Let's review some recent history. In August 2020, the in-person school start date was continually pushed back based on manipulated data. Dr. Philip Kaiser of the Galveston County Health District falsely claimed that 1 in 10 Galveston County residents were walking around spreading COVID. Though this obviously wasn't the case, then Superintendent Greg Smith took his word as gospel and our children suffered. Since then, this board has refused to push back on harmful COVID policy restrictions. It has been content to give one person the authority to extend restrictions even as parents begged for normalcy. Meanwhile, many parents were outraged when it was leaked that CCISD counselors received training from a far-left advocacy group that encouraged minor children to seek counseling without parental involvement. You claim such a policy isn't necessary, and yet your existing policies did not stop this vile training from taking place. But we see through the petty excuses. 4 of you simply do not share our values. And if that isn't enough, just last week, the district made a formal statement using taxpayer-funded resources to weigh in on an active campaign issue. It is a blatant attempt by the district to unduly influence this election. That is called electioneering, and it's illegal. And sadly, this isn't the first time the district has violated Section 255.003 of the Texas Election Code, a Class A misdemeanor. District leadership seems bewildered why our student enrollment has dropped even as the population in the district is growing. Here is your answer. 4 of this board, over and over, and again at your last meeting, has broken the trust of families and taxpayers. Your words and your votes show that you advocate for an institution, not for constituents. You've allowed the superintendent to deceive us and gaslight us. You have allowed ideology contrary to the community's values into our schools. Your priority is always to protect the river of dirty money flowing under this building. Parents are tired of it and they're walking away from CCISD. Don't be surprised when more students are pulled, when rankings drop, and when your contempt for us results in a surge in advocacy for statewide school choice legislation. Calling this body the Board of Trustees is a misnomer because trust is a concept 4 of you clearly don't understand. This community is appalled, frustrated, and angry, and will make its voice heard at the ballot box.
Sean Byers, followed by John Waddell.
Man, that's a tough act to follow. Okay, first off, I think the voters spoke last year's election as far as the values go. In District 5, they were pretty resounding as far as about a 600 vote difference. So I got to admit, I didn't really come up here prepared. Like some of the candidates recently in some of these forums, I'm kind of winging it right now, speaking from the heart. But it's a big heart, those of you that know it. I've got 2 kids in this district, so I'm a father. And they're both succeeding in it. The district is doing both of them very well. There's programs. My youngest one is a dual language program at McWhorter, and she is excelling at that. I'm so proud of her. My oldest is at Creek, and she's doing very well. She's struggling with things on a personal level right now, but she has the things at that school that she needs to help her through those things she can't get in other places. So I want to thank the district for that, and because she means the world to me. She's the reason I get involved in these elections. She's the reason I'm so passionate about these things. There's a lot of discussion going on the past few years now. Last year was a pretty contentious election for a lot of people. I think it was hard on a lot of people. It caused a lot of good people to rethink their service, actually. And on the other side of that, it caused a lot of good people to stand up and fight harder, to do the right thing, to stand up for all the kids, not the kids that just look like some of them, or some of y'all's for that matter. Those were your words, not ours. It's really sad that our school board elections have devolved into such partisan battlegrounds. This isn't new, though. This isn't the first time. There's a member of this board that's actually spearheading that effort in the Harris County Republican Party, lauded by the state party. And I got to say, from a political standpoint, it's been very effective. They got that person elected. They got another elected. different circumstances there. But in all, to say that, this is about our community, it's not. It's not about our community standards. It's about political advantage and political gain. It's about using our district, our children, the staff of this district as stepping stones for political gain. It's not the first time it's going to happen. It's not the last. But we're going to put an end to it in this district because our kids and our staff, they deserve better. The taxpayers of this district deserve better, and they deserve transparency when it comes to what this district intends to do with their tax dollars. So I thank the district for a timely and prompt response to miscommunications during this campaign. So we're doing our best to correct it on another end. So thank you all very much for your time, and God bless.
Mr. John Waddell, followed by Lucero Wynn.
Thank you, Board. Last meeting was very disheartening for parents across this school district. Most of us have a live and let live philosophy. We really don't care what you believe personally, but when you keep forcing your ideology on our children that goes against our family values and completely disregard the parents do not want this taught to our children, especially in schools, that is why we are fighting back. You have pushed parents past their limits. We are tired of listening to the constant push of transgender, LGBT culture in our schools for all ages. We are tired of you dismissing parents' concerns of the reading material that is found in our schools. When did the need to determine what your sexuality is become the forefront in our schools? Why is it not enough to let kids be kids? Mr. Williams, you spoke of mental health at the last meeting. But what you guys are failing to see is that this culture that is being pushed is causing the mental health issues. When these kids are constantly bombarded with what pronoun are you? Are you cis, binary, non-binary, furry, or any of the several other ridiculous titles? That is causing the anxiety in these kids. Our kids do not need to worry about their sexuality. They should be more concerned about their academics. But they are unable to do so because of the culture that is being shoved in their faces, from the schools, on TV, in the movies, and social media. The fact that the last meeting you as a board refused to monitor what reading materials that teachers are bringing into their personal classroom libraries shows where you stand. Stop pushing this agenda on our kids. I know that we have great counselors that work hard, that there may be a small percentage of students that are having mental health issues, especially after what they have gone through in the past 2 years. But this push to constantly discuss sexuality over academics needs to stop. And even as I'm speaking to you right now, I'm sure you as a board are just blowing off what I'm saying as just another one of those parents. And because you have been disregarding parents' concerns time and time again, we will be working hard to replace those of you on the board that continue to push this agenda over teaching our students what they really should be learning to help them become strong, knowledgeable members of our community. Thank you.
Lucero Wynn. Next, we'll move to Jackie Rasco.
Good evening. My name is Jackie Rasco, and I have 2 daughters at Ed White. Yesterday, we attended our school carnival, which we love and enjoy so much. While waiting for our turn for some of the games inside the school, I noticed this huge display outside the library showing April celebrations. This included collages of books representing the following: Continue Sharing Black History Month, Arab American Heritage Month, pictures about Muslims, hijabs, Ramadan, and mosques, and Find a Rainbow Day, take a look, it's in a book. The latter is the one I find most disturbing. Kids think of rainbows as a pretty spectrum of light. However, it has also become the symbol for gay pride. So these books aren't about pretty rainbows in the sky. What an enticing way to gain these children's interest. At the very top of this display is the inappropriate book that I talked about last month, Pride, Harvey and the Rainbow Flag. This is literally a story about a gay pedophile. Rainbow, a first book of Pride. What do you think that book is about? It's a book that celebrates LGBTQ+. I can't even keep up with the growing acronyms. Our Rainbow, another one of these books. My Rainbow, a book about a transgender little girl. This is so disturbing. How do we even get here? CCISD should not be emphasizing on race, period. I think it is truly what divides us, especially with elementary school children. They don't notice a difference until you make it a difference. And what percentage of Arab students does CCISD have? Why are we focusing so much on Arab American History Month and picture books about Muslims? From what I found online, it's about less than 1% of Arab population in our schools. Since the library is promoting religious beliefs about Muslims, where are the books about Christianity? Where are the months celebrating American history? Why are we favoriting some nationalities and we aren't celebrating all nationalities? We trust the school district to teach our kids academics. Somewhere along the lines, teaching our children about sex, race, and politics have come into play. That is the job of the parents. This is not the school's role to teach our kids these things. I feel like you're grooming our kids by shoving this trans, gay, racist nonsense to our children that is not wanted or needed. I don't understand the agenda. When a stranger talks to a child about sex, it's considered a crime. Just because someone is a teacher does not make it any less of a crime. I feel like as a concerned parent, I'm having to babysit these teachers. Why do I have to challenge every inappropriate book? Why are these books even allowed in the school? Besides the public display of the school's library, indoctrinating books that have teachers, the teachers have their own personal libraries in each of their classrooms that have no vetting process. I talked about this last month, and I will not stop talking about this until there is a process for this. Please stop allowing teachers to bring in whatever reading materials they want into their classroom. I am here concerned at the elementary level. CCISD, you can do better than this. I may be here alone tonight speaking, but I want you to know I'm a huge voice of the community that are very concerned. America's future depends on how we educate, so let's get back to teaching our kids the basic academics and leave the parents to do the rest. Thank you for your time.
And next, we will move on to our 1-minute speakers, Miss Ann Hammond, followed by Aaron Kalunga.
Laura, I want to talk to you. I'm sorry about the rest of you guys, but this is for Laura. I want to direct, for 9 years I've admired your commitment to the excellence in education in CCISD. You've consistently focused on what is best for our children, not just since your election, but before as a PTA mom and a science fair volunteer. Your heart for the children of the district in their academic and emotional growth is to be commended. I know personally from our seminars that we attended together to gain knowledge about how other districts across the country, even around the world, you were genuinely invested in public education and making our district a better place for our children. You even devoted a year to leadership task to become a master trustee. So I will miss your calm, your intellectual, and your historical perspective at these school board meetings, and wish you the best as you live life without board responsibilities. And that free time that you're going to have, I hope we spend some of that together. Thank you so much for your service to CCISD. It's a job well done.
And next, Aaron Kalunga.
Thank you for everybody here that has contributed to our schools and made it a better system for us. This is my first time coming to one of these things. I have 3 preschoolers, so I'm new to all this. The reason I'm here is I had some questions about the dual language program that I couldn't get answers for, and I was recommended to come here, so hopefully somebody here can help me. And I apologize if this is not the right venue for this. Essentially, in the dual language program, it's not offered at every elementary, as I'm sure y'all are aware. There's a prioritization such that students zoned to the particular school that has the program, they get priority over the rest of the students that are not zoned. And I was trying to understand how we got to that conclusion. In the pre-K programs, pre-K 3 in specific, if you're zoned to a school that doesn't have that program, you don't get priority. You're simply put all into the same pool. It just doesn't. I'm trying to understand why a publicly tax-funded program is inaccessible to certain students. It's impossible for my student to participate.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kalunga. And I wanted to thank all of our speakers for coming out tonight. Never a easy thing to get up in front of the community and voice your concerns. Next, I will hand over to Dr. Williams for the district update.
Yes, I'm enthusiastic about sharing an update regarding several topics. It is certainly an exciting time of year for families who will have our youngest students next year. The district opened the registration window for next school year for students in pre-kindergarten and kindergarten. And it just opened. It opened last Monday. And since then, we've had almost 600 students enrolled so far. And we also will be hosting a district-wide summer registration fair from June 13th through the 15th at McWhirter Elementary. Also want to mention two leadership changes this evening. Michael Houston, principal of Clear Springs High School, will be leaving at the end of this school year to be the Assistant Superintendent of School Leadership at Channelview ISD. We wish him the very best in this next chapter of his professional career. Also, Beth Pulowski, current principal of Ward Elementary, will be moving to Armand Bayou Elementary to serve as principal next year. The area of health sciences is growing and certainly providing exceptional opportunities for our students upon graduation. Right now, we have about 300 students preparing to take state board exams, which will lead to workforce certifications in one of multiple fields: dental assistant, certified nurse assistant, patient care technician, pharmacy technician, and veterinary medical assistant. And for the second year, we'll be hosting a signing celebration for students entering the health field. Through our partnership with HCA Houston Healthcare, selected students will be working at an HCA medical campus upon graduation and at locations nearest to their college of choice, and also they'll be eligible for scholarship assistance. This year's signing will be held on May 5th. And this is just one example of the great work happening in career and technical education. I also observed that today marks the beginning of early voting in the Clear Creek ISD school board elections, and early voting runs through May 3rd. You can go to any one of the following 4 locations to cast your ballot: Creekside Intermediate, Education Support Center, Learner Support Center, and Westbrook Intermediate. And we encourage you to get out in order to vote early. The election day itself is May 7th. And due to the census, the board approved changes to the board representation boundaries, which affects what electoral districts some residents live in. And so to make this process easy, we're conducting the final testing of an app through which you'll be able to input your address and immediately receive your election day voting location and which candidates will be on the ballot. And so, for example, if you live in District 1, when you go onto the app, you'll see information about the District 1 race as well as the at-large race. Whereas if you're in District 3, you'd only see the at-large race on the ballot because the District 3 position is not up for election. I'll also note that several election day voting locations have changed due to redistricting. All registered voters will receive information in the mail, and we'll have large signs outside previous voting locations to direct citizens to the new location in case they go to the old location. And of course, our website will be available with information, and on the day of the election itself, we'll have phone lines open for people to call in to ask any questions they have. I also want to take a moment and thank Dr. Laura DuPont for her years of service to the Clear Creek ISD. And as you all know, and as has been noted this evening, she's not running for re-election. We will formally recognize her at the next school board meeting. This month, we had the wonderful opportunity to name the court in Kruger Fieldhouse after one of our legendary coaches, and that's Coach Lynn McDonald. Coach McDonald served the students at Lake for 29 years before retiring in 2009. And at the dedication, he was surrounded by family, friends, and former athletes. And soon we'll be holding dedication ceremony for the court in Butler Gym, naming it after Peggy Whitley, who was the head girls basketball coach at Creek for 16 years. The School Safety and Security Committee met last week to review current safety protocols and procedures, and it was great having the group back together in person. Attendees included the Chief of Police for League City, the Captain of the HPD Division of Clear Lake, representation from our SLO division, as well as parents and staff members. Also back in person and at full capacity will be our Teacher of the Year Luncheon. It'll be held soon, Monday, May 9th at the NASA Hilton at 11:30 a.m. And this is in partnership with the Rotary Clubs of Space Center, League City, and Seabrook. And it's during this luncheon that we'll announce the 2022 Elementary Teacher of the Year and the 2022 Secondary Teacher of the Year. We've already announced the Principals of the Year, and we are thrilled to be recognizing Sarah Konachek of Mossman Elementary and Laura Fugarus of Clear Path Alternative School. And so we're appreciative of their outstanding contributions and really the contributions of all of our team members throughout the district. And that concludes the district update this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Next, we'll move on to item 10, action on closed session items, and we're going to break up the recommendation into two recommendations. So I'll call for a motion on the first recommendation.
Can I go first?
Yes, sir, Mr. Bowen.
Yes, Mr. President, I move that we approve Ms. Jacqueline Reed for principal principal.
Thank you for that motion, Mr. Bowen. Do I have a second? Mr. Sanchez, thank you for that second. Seeing no comment, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your right hand. And motion carries unanimously. Next, we'll move on to our second recommendation.
Mr. President, I move we accept the superintendent's recommendation for Jennifer Toops as our elementary school principal.
Thank you, Mr. Larson, for that recommendation. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Davis, thank you for that second. Seeing no comment, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your right hand. And motion carries unanimously. I will turn it over to Dr. Williams.
We appreciate the board's actions on these principal appointments this evening. Ms. Jacqueline Rhee has 10 years of experience in education. She currently serves as assistant principal at Robinson Elementary. Her previous experiences include serving as a teacher at Whitcomb Elementary, and she impressed the interview committee with her excellent knowledge of curriculum instruction and a clear vision for continuous improvement for all students. I'll also note that she's a graduate of Clear Creek ISD, and she will be assigned to serve as principal of Ward Elementary. And Ms. Jennifer Toops has 16 years of experience in education. She currently serves as assistant principal at Whitcomb Elementary School, and her previous experiences include serving as an assistant principal at Mossman Elementary and as a classroom teacher at Robinson Elementary. She's an excellent administrator. She's very enthusiastic about student success and ensuring that each child reaches their full potential. She's known as a good listener, approachable, sincere, and someone who has excellent interpersonal skills. And we're pleased that she'll be serving as principal at Bay Elementary. So again, thank you, trustees, for your action on these personnel recommendations.
Thank you, and congratulations to those individuals. Next, we'll move on to item 11, action on consent agenda. Would anybody like to pull anything? Seeing that no one wants to pull any items, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. President, I move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you for that motion, Mr. Larson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Cottrell. And if there's no further comment, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the consent agenda as presented, please raise your right hand. And that motion carries unanimously. Next, we will move on to item B, consider approval of the use of capital project funds for facility-related projects.
Good evening. Glad to be back, seeing you guys on a board meeting. We have been very busy working on the construction documents for the Whitcomb and Ross projects, which are the two last projects we have under the bond, major projects that we have under the 2017 bond program. We solicited proposals from contractors back in late March, and we have some agenda items to bring those forward for approval. As y'all are probably aware in the news and some of the reporting that we've been doing about inflation that we've seen over the last 18 months, it's been pretty dramatic, as it has been throughout most economy areas. So we really have been focused in on this to see what the impact was going to be. The Ross Elementary project did come in about $3.9 million over budget. We have been fortunate since the bond program began that we have had estimated inflation in the original bond program, and early on in the bond program we did not experience the level of inflation that we had estimated, which has generated a good bit of savings, about $29.5 million in the 2017 bond program at this time. And ultimately, these last two projects were really, other than a couple that we've had up to date that were relatively small, these are the last two projects are the only ones that have really felt the bite of the inflation issues that we are dealing with now. So we do have a recommendation to approve the use of capital projects funds of $3,944,537 for facility-related project. This is for the Ross Elementary project.
And
answer any questions.
thank you, Mr. Miller, for that. I'll open it up for any questions. Seeing no questions, I will call for a motion.
Mr. President.
Mr. Sanders.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the use of capital project funds of $3,944,537 for facility-related projects.
Thank you for that motion, Mr. Sanchez. Do I have a second? Thank you, Dr. DuPont. And I will see no comment, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your right hand. And that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. The next agenda item is related to that request for capital funding. This is consider approval of construction contract 2022.403 for construction at Ross Elementary School. As I mentioned, we did open proposals. We received 3 proposals for Ross Elementary, and the committee evaluated the proposals based on the published evaluation criteria and determined that ICI construction is the best value with a proposal amount of $21,054,000, which includes alternates 1, 2A, and 3. ICI construction has done quite a bit of work here. They did Landalt Elementary. They rebuilt our League City Elementary School. So they've proven their performance on these types of projects many times before. So the committee recommends them as the construction contractor for the project.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. And if you don't mind, Mr. Miller, could you just briefly describe what is contained in that project, like what will happen with Ross, so the community kind of knows?
Well, these two projects, Whitcomb and Ross, were 2 of the major elementary renovation projects that we had included. The project includes a lot of site work, removal and replacement of all of the driveways, parking lots, landscaping. It includes an addition for admin that will connect the old tilt wall gym that were built many, many years ago. And that gym will be converted into the school's library. The interior of the school will be gutted, removing all of the walls. All of the interior finishes will be replaced. Electrical, mechanical, and plumbing will be temporarily pulled back up into the ceiling. It gets new ceilings, new LED lighting, emergency lighting, generator. It's a full renovation, much like we've seen at White Elementary, Holland, Landolt, and Clear Lake City Elementary. So it's very similar to those projects.
All right. Thank you for that explanation.
And the schedule of that, it would begin immediately and be completed by August of '23.
And thank you for that explanation, Mr. Miller. See no comment, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. President,
Mr. Bowen,
I move that we accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve construction contract 2022 403 to ICI Construction in the amount of $21,054,000 for the Ross Elementary School project.
thank you for that motion. Mr. Bowen, do I have a second?
You have a second.
Mr. Larson, thank you. Seeing no comment, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your right hand. And that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Our next item is a similar capital request for the Whitcomb Elementary School project. Very, very similar project. This one, we ultimately determined that the most appropriate addition to do there was a cafeteria and a kitchen replacement. There was quite a bit of underground sewer problems that we needed to abandon and remove. And based on campus reviews of our design, we really felt like having that library there in the core of the building with the cafeteria down towards the gym was the best choice for this project. So ultimately, this project does include those same types of items: new parking lots, new driveways, new interior, tear down all the walls on the interior, renovate all the restrooms, bring back new finishes, new instructional technology. All of those things will get replaced as part of the project. The committee on this one, the capital request, this one did come in a little better. The budget that we had in there had accounted for some of the difficulties in the project, such as CMU walls on the interior. Some of those things were really budgeted pretty heavily. So this one, we have a request for funding of $1,092,468. Of that, $794,097 would be requested from the 2017 bond savings and interest. The remaining $298,371 is requested from capital and contingency reserve, which is for the insurance proceeds that were generated when the campus was flooded by a water main break. This project also includes the permanent repairs associated with that insurance claim. So those insurance funds are incorporated into the capital and contingency fund, and a subsequent supplemental claim will be done to receive additional funding from insurance, which will also be deposited into the capital and contingency fund. So it's our recommendation to approve the use of capital projects funds of $1,092,468 for the facility-related projects.
And thank you for that explanation, Mr. Miller. See no comment, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. President?
Mr. Sanchez.
Mr. President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the use of capital project funds in the amount of $1,092,468 for facility-related projects.
Thank you for that motion, Mr. Sanchez. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Dr. DuPont. Seeing that there's no comment, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion presented, please raise your right hand. And that motion carries unanimously. Paul, you're on a roll.
I am on a roll. Thank you. The next item is another action item. This is related to the one we just did for Whitcomb Elementary. As mentioned, we did open proposals for both projects at the end of March. The evaluation committee reviewed the proposals, which there were 4 on this project, did review the proposals and determined based on the published evaluation criteria that, again, ICI Construction was the best value for this project as well. So we are recommending approval of construction contract 2022.405 to ICI Construction in the amount of $25,036,001, which includes alternates 1, 2A, and 3. We do know that this is a separate team from the Ross Elementary project. The way that their company is established, they do have separate divisions within their company. So we feel really confident that this is not going to have an impact on the overall project. They are very difficult projects, and we'll be monitoring that. They do have both projects have high quality subcontractor teams, so we'll certainly be monitoring that and making sure that we don't see any kind of impacts from that kind of double award.
And is there any comment? Any questions? Seeing no comment or question, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. President, I
Mr.
move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to award contract 2022.405 for Whitcomb to IHI Construction in the amount of $25,036,001.
I was going to correct that and say ICI.
ICI.
ICI Construction.
It is ICI, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Seeing no comment, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your right hand. And that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Next, we'll move on to item F.
Good evening. Tonight we are bringing to you a request to renew our property and windstorm insurance effective May 1st of 2022. Last year we did an RFP for our windstorm and property insurance. We have been working with the carriers to get the renewal together this year. We're recommending to continue with Assured Partners. It takes 15 underwriters to put this package together. The value of our property is about $1.5 billion now, and so not one carrier is willing to take on that risk. So it's about 15 underwriters that have put this package together. They did provide us with 3 options for our renewal this year, and upon looking at the different options, we are recommending the option to change our deductibles a bit. We're looking at a recommendation for raising the 3% deductible on named windstorms to 5%, and the deductible for all other perils, an increase from $250,000 to $500,000. So this is a total premium increase with this recommendation of about $701,000. So we are recommending to approve the renewal of this contract to Assured Partners in the amount of $4,891,670 for the period beginning May 1st, 2022 and ending April 30th, 2023. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Are there any questions? Mr. Sanchez?
Ms. Spencer, I think when we had reviewed this in Finance Committee, if you could just share maybe a little bit of the background. I know it's still, even adjusting the percentage from 3% to 5% and then increasing the deductible from $250,000 to $500,000, it still represents a premium increase. And I think had we kept the 3%, if you could just talk a little bit about what those rates would have been, even though it's still an increase, I think it still represents a savings, if you will, if we had tried to keep the same deductible and percentage.
Right. So if we had if the first option they gave us was to keep our deductibles at the same levels as we currently have, that was about $928,000 more in premium. The difference comes into play if we do have a claim, perhaps from a hurricane, a named storm. going to a 5% would be more cost for the district, but what we've seen in the past is that FEMA will come in and assist us with those deductibles. So they've come in the past and covered 75% of that deductible, and in some cases up to 90% of that deductible. So the thought process is that although we are increasing our deductibles, we believe that FEMA would come through and assist us in those situations where we would not have to pick up the full deductible. So we feel comfortable raising that percentage up to 5%.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Is there any other question or comment? Seeing no question or comment, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the renewal contract of 20.21.405 to Assured Partners for property assurance in the amount of $4,891,670 for the period beginning May 1, 22 and ending April 30, 2023.
Thank you, Mrs. Davis. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Cottrell. Seeing no further comment, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your right hand. And that motion carries unanimously. And next, we'll move on to item G.
Good evening, everyone. I'm bringing back the budget goals, assumptions, and priorities for us to review one last time, and hopefully the board will approve the final determination of what these are going to be tonight, so we can use these as we develop our budget in the coming months. So this first page, I know it's eye-watering, you can't read it, I'm sorry, but that's the goals and assumptions we have for this year, the ones we're working under that the board approved last spring that we used to develop last year's budget. So I just use this as kind of a reference. And what I've done is I've taken each major section, I've just broken it out so it's easier to follow and read. The 2022-2023 budget goal would be to further CCISD's mission and strategic plan with financial integrity, maximizing benefits from available resources. This page includes the budget assumptions, and you'll note in the green areas, there's a few that we wanted to add for consideration tonight, and they were not in the original information I sent out right after the board workshop. So the first one is meet budget requirements without accessing more than 20% of the capital and contingency reserve funds. The second one is manage the district's resources efficiently and effectively, including identifying ways to increase revenues and or decrease expenditures to achieve a balanced budget by 2025-26. Retain the 5% homestead exemption. The next one in green is, when I went back, I did my due diligence and listened to the workshop recording just to make sure I didn't miss anything. And there was a suggestion by a board trustee to include this next one, which would be not include a golden penny or other tax rate increase in this next budget. And then the next one would be staff kind of looked at this and wanted to make sure we were clear about the functioning of this Citizens Committee, and so take additional steps to prepare the district for a loss of state funding after the FY 23-24 budget, including establishing a committee of citizens and staff to focus on options for expenditure reductions. So we wanted to clarify that process. So I'll be glad to listen to any discussion on everything else I think was agreed upon at the workshop and then further, but certainly the greened items, if there's any questions or wishes to change that up at all.
And I will open it up for comments or questions.
So we're kind of putting our heads together here and talking about the golden penny a little bit.
Sure.
And I'd just like to make sure we have the proper understanding of this. My understanding is that we are not taxing at the full rate allowed, and so that if we were to increase our tax rate a small amount, we would get from the state a certain amount of money too, in addition to just what we took in from taxes, up to the amount of that golden penny. Is that
It's similar to that, except that if we're not taxing at the level, so the state has in their funding formulas, they're assuming we've already taken all these tax, so they're assuming we already have this golden penny in our tax rate. They're also assuming that we're collecting that. So we're not collecting it, so we're getting less revenue from the state based on that because they're already assuming we're collecting it. If we decided to take the 1 penny, that's a board option at any point in the future, they could, that would give us additional revenue locally that would give us additional funding to make that up. So it's not really a reduction in state funding per se. It's really, we're not taxing at the effort that the state requires or assuming in their financial formulas.
So I guess to clarify that, in the years past the formula transition grant, accessing the golden penny or eliminating the homestead exemption would not change the amount of money we get from the state, right?
Right.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
And I also want to make it clear in all of that, that the reason for that is that we are funded on a formula.
Right.
And so, which is completely different. So even as property values go up and more revenue comes in because of that, our funding does not go up directly as a result of that because we are funded on a formula.
Right, we're limited on the amount of tax increase, so if your home values are increasing exponentially, which we can't change, we can't do anything about, we're only allowed to keep 2.5% of that value increase in the formulas, and then at that point, if we say if our values increase 8%, they will start reducing our tax rate. So you'll see for the last 4 or 5 years, since House Bill 3, that our maintenance and operations tax rate has actually decreased over time, and it will continue to decrease because values will be higher than that 2.5% threshold that we have. So each year, you'll see tax rates go down to make up that funding formula difference there.
And I guess the other reason that we're in the situation we are in anyway with the transition grant is because we are taxing at the lowest allowed by law for the M&O rate, and that for this, and we have the homestead exemption, and so that we're kind of being penalized in the sense that, and it was realized through House Bill 3 that the districts that were not taxing to their full amount, that they're trying to give them something, so they'd be getting something out of House Bill 3, because otherwise we wouldn't.
It's a complicated formula, but essentially what they did was they assured every school district out of House Bill 3 at least a 3% growth in revenue over the old law. So what they're doing with Formula Transition Grant is taking the old law and saying, okay, what would Clear Creek ISD be making in this year, this coming year, under old law, and then they're taking the new law, and the difference between those is the Formula Transition Grant, so they're given to districts to make up that amount for a set period of time, so that goes away in 2023-24. Unless there's some legislative action that changes that.
And I guess I just would like to make a comment about the second change, which I guess to some degree I don't necessarily think that it should be in here because it's more of the part about including establishing a committee of citizens and staff to focus on options for expenditure reductions. That is something that is happening that has been defined through the superintendent targets. So through another means. I mean, I'm not opposed to having it in here because it is something that is happening anyway. But I do want to note that in understanding that there's the potential drop-off of the loss of state funding, our conversations have gone, in fact, well, I guess the board sitting here, the conversations have gone back to at least September. And I know you've been working on that even since that got put in place back to that legislative session. And so I think it's important that, I mean, this is a document that the board does use and is our document, something that we create, and make sure that what the board is assuming or has as priorities, that goes forward, and that's based on what's in this document. So I think it's important that all of us as trustees go back to all of the information that has been given. And I know, and I say back in September because it goes back even to it goes back to our discussion, even setting the tax rate last September, and then goes into the superintendent targets that we set in September. And then we've hit on this in some way every month since starting in January, and talking, and you've been giving us updates about what's happening. So I just think it's really important that we take on our responsibility to know all of the things that are happening with that. It isn't an easy subject matter, and there's a lot of moving pieces to it. And I think we need to be sure that we understand everything that's going on as we put things in. So not that I don't, it's fine to have it in there and we can go forward with it, but I think we all need to take on our responsibility. And I do want to say I really appreciate your efforts this year, because some years this discussion has been a really tough one that went on for a long time. And the information you provide to us, and being able to actually come in here and adapt it, and having to work with us in our meetings where you're sitting there being the scribe and putting everything in, we wouldn't be able to do it if we didn't have you helping. So I really appreciate the effort and the information that you give to make us be able to do that.
Thank you.
Is there any other additional comment or questions? Seeing no comment or questions, I will call for a motion.
Mr. President,
Mr. Cottrell?
I move that we accept the recommendation of the superintendent that the board approve the attached fiscal year 2022-23 budget goals, assumptions, and priorities as developed and presented.
Thank you for that motion, Mr. Cottrell. Do I have a second? Mr. Sanchez, thank you for the second. Is there any further comment?
Mr. President.
Mr. Bone?
I'd like to propose an amendment. I guess I'm moving an amendment to change bullet points 3 and 4 to add the words through FY 2025 to 2026 to both of them. So retain the 5% local homestead exemption through FY 2025 to 2026, and not include a golden penny or other tax rate increase through FY 2025 to 2026.
Okay, so we will first vote on the
amendment, and then the main motion.
Can you repeat those dates again?
Yes.
Through fiscal year?
2025 to 2026.
I would just make the point that this document happens on an annual basis, and these are budget assumptions for the current year's budget, or I guess the next year's budget that we're going into. So I think we want to be careful just in potentially what the future could bring, and just realizing that these are assumptions for this year's budget, or the coming year's budget.
Right, and what I would say to that is that a lot of these items are forward-looking. I mean, I would even say that the 20% of capital and contingency reserve funds is forward-looking in the sense that we know that we are going to need it in the later years as well. But bullet point number 2, bullet point number 5, both are don't really pertain as much to this year as they do to our process in developing subsequent budgets. So I think our budget process, while we do pass a budget every year, it is a forward-looking process. It is not a snapshot in time. And so including these in here would, I think, put our commitment to keeping both of these protections for taxpayers in writing so that we know that they can be relied on in subsequent years.
I'd like to echo that. You know, that we do long-range planning here, and that informs our decisions for the current year. Even though we are only doing the current year, where we expect to get to, and again, something some of our students will be familiar with, begin with the end in mind, where we expect to get to helps us determine what we're going to do right now. And for that reason, I agree with this amendment.
Right. And I'd also kind of like to say I would like to keep it going even further, but I do want this to be a time-bounded commitment so that it's not infinite. But I would envision us coming back in later years and extending that commitment as well. So.
And I would just say, add again, that this is an annual document and it could be changed by any board in the future.
And thank you. Seeing no further comment, I'll call for a second to Mr. Bowen's amendment.
I'll second.
Ms. Davis, thank you for that second. And so we have an amendment to retain the 5% local homestead exemption through fiscal year 2025 through 2026. I'll call for a motion on that amendment. All in favor, please raise your right hand.
Mr. President, just clarification, I think there were two different amendments that Mr. Bowen added. I believe there was also one offered.
Homestead exemption and golden penny.
And a golden penny.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's one amendment, right?
Yes.
That affects two sections. The amendment
Right.
could be divided, but we haven't moved to do that.
And I apologize, I missed that. I apologize. Yeah. So the amendment obviously got a second, and that was for both. So thank you for that, and thank you for catching that. Seeing no further comment, I'll call for a vote on that amendment. All in favor, please raise your right hand. And all opposed? So that motion carries 4-3. And so I will return to the main motion as amended.
I made it.
There was.
I made it.
Yeah.
Jonathan made the motion and Mr. Sanchez made the second.
So if there's not any further discussion, the main motion is
Okay.
Yeah.
And so seeing no further comment, we'll have a vote on the main motion as amended. All in favor, please raise your right hand.
Can I just ask for clarification? So the main motion as amended based on what Mr. McCarty had offered or based on what Mr. Bowen had offered?
That would be,
It's going to be the motion that passed.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So all in favor of the amended motion, please raise your right hand. And all opposed? And so that motion carries 6-1. All right, and next we'll move, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McClarty. And next, we'll move on to item 12, our annual compliance statement for board continuing education hours. And I will go ahead and read it. In accordance with policy BBD, the period of reporting is from May the 1st, 2021 through April 25th, 2022. The following board members have met and or exceeded the required number of hours. Mr. Scott Bowen, Mr. Jonathan Cottrell, Mr. Jay Cunningham, Ms. Michelle Davis, Dr. Laura DuPont, Mr. Jeff Larson, and Mr. Arturo Sanchez. Congratulations, and once again, thanks for doing your due diligence and also putting in the extra work of going above and beyond on completing your annual compliance of continuing education credits. And with no further business before the board, I will adjourn us at 8:20 p.m.